Hello, everybody. Hello. Welcome to this week's broadcast of the Principal's Office. I am so glad that you are with me. Let me know on multiple platforms. Yes, I'm in a different place today. I have the honor of actually sitting in the office of my mentor because I was doing some work, but I wanted to make sure I still jumped on live. And so here we are today in the principal's office. Remember to comment, to like, to share this video. And for those of you who are new to this video podcast, wherever you're watching it from, thank you for watching. Thank you for being a part of this podcast. My name is Jamal Maxim. I'm an igniter of champion leaders, and our teachers transition out of the classroom and be the champions of change that they are called to be by stepping into leadership or entrepreneurship. However, your pathway is for inspiring change and igniting change, that's what you're supposed to do. And that's what I help you do. And so, today we're talking about a very important topic. We're talking about watching our words. I recognize, and even since the recording of the last video podcast, that not of course, but right now there's a lot of anger, a lot of frustration in education. You know, you've heard me quote the statistics and read the results of the recent survey of how many educators are ready to quit. And you've heard me talk about how many superintendents are ready to quit, how many teachers are ready to quit. And there's this more startling news happening almost every day in education. You know, earlier today I was in a discussion. I heard about a teacher that was hospitalized who displayed extreme behavior. And so all of these things are occurring. I also was part of a conversation where were discussions about school board members receiving death threats and just being pulled in these different directions by the different political beliefs and political agendas and political parties that are trying to infiltrate the school system. And school was never meant to be political. It was never meant to support any one side or the other issue. With all of those things going on, we have to make sure, one, that we keep the environment safe, but also two, that we don't buy into the propaganda or the noise that's out there. We must allow ourselves to speak words that will cultivate the culture of healing, understanding, as well as the culture of joy. Because on educating, and when you're talking about being a person of influence or an igniter of change, our focus then should be upon nurturing the students and the teachers in the building through our leadership. And so that's one of the things I'm going to talk about is watching our words. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. Watching our words. What are you saying? The narratives, the self-talk that you say to yourself, what you say about other people, to other people. And I want you to recognize that there's power in your voice, because what you say matters. Not just what you say to people, what you say behind closed doors, what you say to yourself, and what you say about yourself, other people, and the situation. It all matters. And so let's dig into it and let's go in. All right, here we go. And so parents right now, they're feeling exhausted and frustrated because of how the school system currently is. Right now, there's a lot of frustration and exhaustion because parents are of education, and which rightfully so, because a lot of educators are unsure about the stability of education, and teachers want to make a difference, but they want to leave the classroom, which is why I do what I do to help you. But there are other teachers who are just burned out and they realize their assignment has ended for education, and some are burned out but their assignment has not ended, but they may still be grappling with the decision to leave simply because they're being asked to do above and beyond what an educator should do or is supposed to be doing. And so I get it. And so there's a lot of frustration with parents, a lot of frustration with the educators in general at every level: teachers, superintendents, principals. Now we're talking about board members and students. We're dealing with frustration and exhaustion. And now here's the thing, I told you this before: 90% of teachers are battling burnout. Some of them are ready to quit. They're battling the idea of burnout. They're battling the idea of exhaustion because too often teachers have been required to do more than they're supposed to and think what under the guise of this is what teaching is. And so that's not this discussion because that's a totally different thing. But teacher 90% battling burnout. And now, like I was saying in the intro, it seems like our schools have become a battleground for political agendas. Now, what we see is that we see political parties, we see lobbyists, we see all kind of things going on, and they are waging the battle for their opinion in the schools and at school board meetings. We see these national organizations now are trying to endorse people to run for school board to push their side of one particular agenda. And in this situation, no one is really no winner, because if a superintendent says you can wear your mask if you want to, it's your choice, then we have people that are angry saying they should mandate masks, have people angry saying they shouldn't. And so these discussions should be had, but they should not turn to aggression toward superintendents or school boards. Those discussions need to be had in a civilized manner. But unfortunately, because of frustration and anger and just exhaustion, they're coming out in a way that's more aggressive and angry than they should, which then primes the environment for political agendas, a training ground for a particular political party or a particular political belief. The school is supposed to be the place where kids learn content: math, science, reading, technology, art, music, history. They learn these things but are not told what to think. They are given the opportunity to learn the content and develop in their thinking skills. Then when they become rational adults, they can choose whatever their own free will. But having things shoved in their throat and in their faces, and then people going to both parties going to different extremes, is filtering into the school system and making the school system become something that it was never intended to be. And so there are people right now trying to control the narrative of schools and trying to paint their own narrative of what's going on. And all of this is adding to a pressure administrators and the district as a whole, because these things are not a part of school. We are educators, and this dynamic has to cause us, everybody, to watch our words more carefully. You have to watch what you say, because it is easy for your words to be taken out of context, for you to be soundbited, for people to attack you on social media because they will try to say, oh, because you said this, then you must feel this way or mean this, instead of actually taking the time to determine what you mean or what you are trying to actually say. Now, in addition to that frustration, anger, burnout, and misinterpretation that's happening, I want to dig deep down into the culture. And what I mean by that is this: what we say about people and what you see people has an impact on the culture of your school building and the day-to-day operations, because those words are seeds that get planted into the hearts of the people that hear them. And so you got to be extremely careful, because what you say about what, soundbite, politics, or covering your behind aside, what you are saying plants seeds in the atmosphere of the culture of your building, as well as into the hearts of the people who hear them. Now, why is this important? because you could say, well, we're just talking, I'm just expressing myself, you know, why, what does that matter? Well, it matters because those words will produce a thought. And then the motion that's either positive or negative, which will result in a specific behavior. So I'll say it again, your words that you are saying will produce a thought. That thought will trigger or produce an emotion that's either positive or negative. And that positive or negative emotion would drive a specific behavior. Now, that behavior may or may not be, it may be intentional or subconscious, but it is the result of those words that have been said. Now, sometimes we don't see that behavior come out until later, till months later, weeks later. It could be, you can be like, man, well, why is this person all of a sudden acting differently? Well, it's because of words that you said about someone else that they heard in their presence, and now there's some type of seed that was taking root and now it's coming out. Whether it's now they don't trust you because of how you talked about someone else, or because they feel that they've taken, or because they may be reacting to it in whatever kind of way. So you have to be very intentional with what you say and around who you say it to, because you can be speaking something in an idea of being transparent, and people can view you as, and view your leadership as weak, or say you're passing the buck, or you're being judgmental, or it can influence people to feel a certain way or act a certain way about a certain thing that is wrong. So you want to be, you say, to be in the atmosphere, the culture of your building. Remember, I talk about how it's not just something that you do. It involves what you say, and it's not just pictures that are up in your building or your signage or how clean the building is on the inside and out. Those are components of the culture, but the culture also involves what you feel. Have you ever been into a room or a building and you just said it just felt funny, it didn't feel right? Or you can say this place feels warm or feels inviting. It's because of the culture, and partly because not just what is displayed on the outside, but also because of the type of words and language that are used in that building. So words spoken can be felt in your building's culture, in the atmosphere of your building, whether you say those words out loud or not, which is why I suggest you should speak the outcome more than you speak about a problem, because people, you will have what you say, just period. Whether you're saying it to yourself as an affirmation, whether you're saying it to someone else, whether you're just venting, you have to make sure you are cautious. Because when you are dealing with challenges, or when you are seeing something that is different from what you want to see or what you should see, you have to talk about that outcome more than you talk about the problem. Now, I'm not saying ignore the problem more than you talk about the problem. If you are magnifying the problem, it then clouds your judgment, your perspective, how the solution can be implemented. So you don't want to focus on the problem. You want to be solutions oriented. And so here's the thing, because people want to say, well, you have to vent, you have to process. That is so true. But here's the thing, after you vent, while processing, after you express your feelings about something, you got to speak what you want as if it has or is happening, period. Because when you are venting and processing, if you choose to stay there, it's going to keep you in a rough emotional place. And if you choose to keep speaking words from that rough emotional place, then that poisons the culture or the atmosphere of your school building. And now people start dealing with these rough rough emotional about it, and now they just kind of feel it, and then they start talking about it and responding to it, and now they're all in this rough patch with you, which is not good. So you have to, after you vent, because I'm not saying hold it in, but after you vent and express yourself, then you gotta switch gears to be solutions oriented and speak what you want as if it has or is already happening. When you are speaking a positive affirmation, you can't speak it as if it's going to happen, because it will always be in that place of going to happen. You have to speak it as if it is presently happened or has already happened. Okay, and there's science to prove that. Here's one of the things that I researched that approve what I just said. The University of Pennsylvania, the researchers show that repeating self-affirmations, it produces physical changes in the brain regions that's associated with self-processing, and it ultimately impacts their view of themselves and the changes that are associated with subsequent positive changes in people's behavior. What does that mean? So basically, the researchers found that when you say affirmations about yourself, and when you say these affirmations, it produced the physical change in your brain processing. Those changes in your brain will impact your view, how you view yourself, and those changes are also linked to positive changes in behavior. So what you say about yourself impacts how you view yourself, which then impacts how you behave. And it's the same thing of what you say about other people. What you say about other people and the situations impacts how you view those people and the situations, which would then impact how you behave. So what does that mean? Hey, about yourself, about other people, and about the situations, because it's impacting how you view it. It's tainting or will impact your perspective. If you are talking negatively, it will impact your perspective towards that situation and give you a negative outlook on it. If you're speaking positively, then you have a positive perspective towards that situation, which then opens you up to more creativity to solve the problem. I hope you're following me with that, because that's backed up by science, but it's also just flat out sure that you are doing what you're supposed to do with your words. Now, here's some more research that I found that I want to share with you. Dr. Shane Lopez and his colleagues, they conducted 3 meta-analyses. Their findings show that hope leads to everything from better performance in school to more success in the workplace to greater happiness overall. And it makes sense. According to Lopez, when we are excited about what's next, we invest more in our daily life and we can see beyond our current challenges. And so this research basically is talking about how, out of the research they found, they're saying that the people who have hope and have this concept of being hopeful, it leads to them performing better as students in school, but also more success and greater success, more success in the workplace, and greater happiness overall. And so when you are, not only impacts you, but it impacts the people you're around. And when hope is contagious, and when they embrace that hope that you are leading from, and that you are infiltrating into the culture, it will cause the students to perform better. It will cause the teachers to perform better. And it will cause an overall general sense of happiness in the school building as well as out. Now, some of you may be thinking, well, some of our students that we are serving, they're dealing with, some of the teachers, you may say, are dealing with too many problems to be hopeful. How do we have hopeful? How do we have hope? Why would we do that? And again, got to tell you, you got to speak the outcome more than the problem. And some people might say, well, that's toxic positivity. That's ignoring reality. No, it's not. Being negative is toxic. Focusing on something that's negative is really toxic. It releases negative chemicals in your brain. It actually damages brain cells and causes the negative behavior. And again, I'm not saying ignore, I'm not saying you don't process, but what I am saying is that you have to stay in a place of hope. When you are processing, you have to shift your place out of despair or complaining or sadness, and you have to shift your place to expecting something good and looking forward towards something good coming from the negative or traumatic event. And you can't say, well, this event was bad, but I'm going to just try to look for the good. You got a intentionality to say this was bad, but how can I make this work out for me? Or how can I use this negative situation propel me and push me into my next place of success? And so that's what you have to do with your words. You have to really say, this negative situation is propelling me to my next place of success. And then you have to believe it, because the more you say it, the more you believe it, the more you act that way. And then you'll be looking negative situation to help somebody else through that same situation after you've gone through it. And so that's not toxic. It's called having a hope-based perspective and having hope-based leadership. Now, let me tell you, hope-based leadership is solutions-oriented. It aligns positive expectations with strategy, actions, and words. Notice I said strategy, because if you are just hoping and talking without strategy, it really isn't hope. Happen good or looking for a good solution or a good outcome, you not only have to talk what you expect, but you need to have a plan or strategy that you are currently executing to make it happen. Now, you might have to adjust and tweak your strategy, but you need to have one. And so that's what hope-based leadership is all about. Being solutions-oriented, having positive expectations that are in alignment with your strategy, actions, and words. And so, advice, and I said it last time, but it is worth repeating. Don't feed into or be a repeater of the messages of mayhem and what I call the gospel of despair, because you don't want to keep repeating the negative reports that people are saying. You don't want to do it for the reasons that I talked about before. You don't want that stuff in you. You don't want it in your soul. You don't want it in your heart. You don't want it in the culture of your building, because it would negatively impact who come there every day to work, the students that come there every day to learn, the parents that come to visit. Those words will impact the culture. And so my question to you is, what are you saying? Make sure that you're not in the back office complaining. Make sure that you're not in the teacher's lounge complaining and speaking negative. Be a guardian over your words and be intentional over your words. Now, that's all I have for you today. Share this video with those who will benefit from the content I just shared. And if you need help, if you need assistance with building a culture that's full of hope, full of joy, and you need help really being an igniter of joy and hope in your building or in your district, however you plan on doing it as a teacher or a school leader, because when you talk about igniting hope, you're stepping into a place of leadership with or without a title. I want you to get on a strategy call with me, because we're going to create a specific plan for you and your district as you ignite hope into your school building, because you have to be strategic. Remember, I said hope is strategy. You have to be strategic in order to ignite hope into your district, and you want to make sure it's connected to another issue that needs to be solved. So you can't say we're just going to ignite hope. It has to be connected to PBS, or it has to be connected to to another outcome. And so the problem is most people focus on the other outcomes without igniting hope. And so I want to make sure that you're able to do this and get hope back into the culture of your district, get joy and happiness back into the culture of your district, simply because we need it in every school, because it's time out for the political foolishness and schools being put in the middle of the drama. It's time out for the divisiveness that's been occurring, that's trying to put teachers and admin and principals against each other, parents and schools against each other, students against each other. This division is only caused by frustration and confusion, and will only stop when we fix our cultures and we ignite hope and joy, which will foster understanding and get us back to, or shift us to, a place where we can focus on learning and mastering content. All right, so you see the link on your screen. Bring me to your district if you need to. Bring me to your school. We'll get it going. All right, so that's it. That's it for this week. I want you to be successful and remember to lead like a champion. Bye-bye.